Welcome back to the Have Not Room. I am Ben, and I'm joined here by Brian, and we're here to talk about the finale of Big Brother 24 and the winner of Big Brother 24. Someone who I was this close to picking as my winner pick, and I talked myself out of it like an idiot. Taylor Hale, she did it.
Yes.
Actually, probably one of the greatest, underdog story arcs in the history of reality television. Definitely up there for Big Brother. Also, she is the first Black woman to win a regular season of North American Big Brother.
Yes.
That includes
Shout out
both
Tamar.
US and Canada.
Is the one who, you know how much I adored Tamar on her season. And obviously Taylor is really wonderful and great. And yeah, what a good ending to the season. A season that got pretty gross at times, specifically directed at Taylor, ended in the best way it possibly could. Not only the winner, but fan favorite. I didn't even know the winners were eligible for fan favorite. Apparently they were all this time. And Taylor is the first one to win it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the fact that most seasons of Big Brother, the fans are not super content with the winner, and it's just people usually tend to give the fan favorite to the person who is the person who was robbed or whatever, who was beloved. This is a very rare circumstance where the winner of the season is the person that I would say the majority of the audience was rooting for from pretty early on. And also, interestingly, I would say coming into the finale, you could say whether or not how much this jury vote was up in the air. I think that in hindsight, it probably wasn't that up in the air. But definitely, Taylor did not have this locked in coming in, right? If we'll talk about it, but if Turner had won that part 3, he would have taken Monty and then lost, as we had predicted in our previous podcast. So I think that also probably plays a hand as well, where this is again one of the rare finales where we come in without a very obvious winner outcome. Where usually pretty much come in and be like, okay, this person's 80-90% going to win the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we can get into it. I mean, there's not really a ton to talk about. We, kind of mostly already covered the Brittany eviction, or at least we predicted it going into our last podcast. There wasn't a ton from that eviction episode that was super worth going over. A lot of fluff. So Brittany did fight, which is good to see, but to no avail.
Right. Yeah, Brittany, fun character, made it a lot further than I thought she was going to make it. Quite frankly, I don't know if I don't think that's too mean of a thing to say. I think she looked very out of her element early on in this game, and the fact that she made it to 4, she should be very proud of herself.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of endgame permutations where Brittany is kind of in a position to just get to the final 2 that didn't really end up playing out because of other loyalties and other people kind of making decisions that I would consider to be on paper incorrect. But yeah, definitely when Brittany week 1 was spilling random secrets between Pooch and Amira, you definitely wouldn't have had me predicting that Pooch and Amira would have been the 2 people to go out back to back, and that Brittany would have been the one to make it almost to the end of the game. So yeah, kudos for her. Definitely a fun, unique character.
Yeah, and then I would say for Turner, we didn't know what we were getting with him coming in. We only knew him as the guy who called out Mr. Beast for having a exploitive work environment, and then his sister had some interesting allegations straight off the bat. I think Turner ended up being a chill, cool dude and a good character for the season. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think that overall Turner was probably an overall positive for the season. We do regardless of how much credit, like strategic credit, you want to apportion onto him, it was his HOH week that kicked off the leftovers, even though he kind of had to be goose walked into it a little bit.
Right.
And, he definitely, I think he probably played a better game than most fans and the jury was going to give him credit for if he had been at the end. But yeah, I think his big issue was probably being too much of a follower, not really taking the game by the horns at any real point, as far as like him being the one to ultimately make a decision. Usually when he was making a move, it was somebody else like kind of pushing him to make that move.
Right.
And definitely towards the end, I think that he would have been, I think, the only person to make the correct decision in terms of who he was going to take to the final to. But as we talked about, Monty and Taylor taking each other were just not correct. But I think it was probably super hard from the perspective of being in the house for them to realize how not respected Turner's game was by the jury. I would say that if anything, Turner was probably the most aware of how much the jury probably didn't want to vote for him. But yeah,
he did say in his pitch to Monty that I've burned more bridges than anybody. I think in history he may have said. So that's good. That's a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, he was a good like cog in alliances, but not necessarily the one steering them at all. So totally understand why he maybe wasn't respected. But hey, he did change the course of the season. So for that, we'll always be thankful because, we were headed to a real dark end game here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like Turner winning that HOH and like ultimately being able to make the move that he made with the leftovers, despite the fact that the Festy Bestie twist was kind of stacked against people making a move, and then the people who were flipping the game on post pack were like, "Screw it, we'll do it anyways," even though it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of conversation. I don't recall if we had them on this because we weren't the best at recording this year, but certainly in our group chat we had a lot of oh my god, this season's ruined. This is the worst twist ever. Like, why does Big Brother do this? Like, this sucks. And hey, it all came out all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Festy Bestie twist still really bad. I would like to make sure that's on the record. And again, the leftovers formed and the Amira blindside happened despite the Festy Bestie twist and not because of it.
Right.
Make sure that's very clear for if any Big Brother people are watching. This is taking away essentially like 80 to 90% of the HOH's agency. Essentially is going to be neutering any potential underdog HOH win, which at the time Turner was. So
yeah, so shout out Turner, peace and love, whatever he said at the end, facts, fire, all that. Well, hopefully we'll get to have him make a rug for us or something someday.
Yeah, that'd be very
we'll
cool.
Visit his shop.
Yeah, I mean, his shop is
fellow Massachusetts guy. We got to respect that.
Yep. I mean, we could probably go visit his shop at some point. It's not
that easily.
Far from us, so.
Right. Massachusetts is not that big.
Yeah, it's not a big state. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to say, I guess, about the competitions? Because in my opinion, the final HOH competitions are pretty lackluster.
Yeah, I mean, did they even spray anything on them in the first part of it? No, they're just like, we just wrap this up. We've definitely used this mechanical thing before a bunch of times. We'll just throw a fucking weenie on it and put a grill thing and call it a day. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, we've talked about it. Unless like the comps are super dramatic, like the final part of the HOH comp, obviously, yes, I was paying attention, but the other two parts were just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, usually the Final HOH Part 2 is really interesting because
Mm-hmm.
there's usually some sort of like physical puzzle component to it, where like in BB20 they're building like this logic puzzle mountain thing
Mm-hmm.
where they're like moving blocks to like make sure that the facts match up with the answers or whatever, or they're like connecting wires on a wall that like match the house guests that fit a certain collection. But like this was literally just like put the HOHs and vetoes in order. There wasn't a
Yeah.
puzzle to it. There was
Yeah. There's
barely a
enough.
physical component to it. Like they Taylor and Monty both flew through it in like 7 minutes. Like
Mm-hmm.
it kind of just very lackluster and boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it definitely felt. It just felt like everyone was like, "All right, we're almost done. Let's just get to this finish line and wrap this up."
Yeah, I literally think that Monty won that just because he was heavier and
Mm-hmm.
probably moved faster on the zip line than Taylor.
Yeah, that
And
makes
like that
sense.
really felt like what it came down to because they both really didn't make any mistake. Like Monty made one mistake.
Yeah,
Taylor,
Monty made a mistake and won. So
mhm. Yeah, Monty made a mistake in one. Taylor didn't make any mistakes, but probably was like slightly slower in putting the things up because she would do them out of order. But
mm-hmm.
like it really kind of just felt like you know, it was like 12 seconds or 20 seconds or something like that. Like it really felt like
Mm-hmm.
it was just like, Monty was able to move marginally faster on each of the zipline trips because
Mm-hmm.
he's heavier and he probably just like that's the difference.
Yeah, I wonder if so it seemed this year they redid the backyard to
Mhm.
be where they put, the players. I wonder if that's why they had like a more simple like part 2
Mhm.
because they were like, okay, we need to break this down and make
Yeah.
like this whole big stage.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
possible. I mean, like even still, like they could have done this. Like even if they kept the zipline thing, like they could have made the puzzle they were doing more interesting than just like naming the comps in order, right? Like that's like stuff that everyone is just kind of expected to know. It doesn't really require any kind of brain capacity if like people have been studying even a little bit. So
Mm,
like I don't know. I like the puzzles, like the comps that are more like
yeah.
puzzly in terms of connecting memory information. So
I mean, Big
it is
Brother
good.
has definitely, at times been like cutting back. I mean, they don't even have the giant like scales at the end
Hmm.
of the game, even though the comp is pretty much the same. Like
Yeah.
they just have them standing in a room,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
is whatever.
Um. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
Yeah. They
I
couldn't even
demand the scales, Ben.
they couldn't even afford like a square kind of turny thing that they
Mm-hmm.
usually have. They have like just pieces of cardboard or
Just
whatever.
cards. Yeah, yeah. Last year they like tried to make it look like a record store, and I was like, oh, they're
Hmm.
like records. And this year it's like a bar, and they're like, well, who cares? Just A B C
Hmm.
D, just or ABC, just pick
Yeah.
one.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that probably the only real interesting thing of note based off of the final HOH comp is like this is one of the incredibly rare scenarios in Big Brother. I can only think of a couple other examples where uh, the person who won the final HOH lost the game by winning the final HOH, and if they had
Yeah.
instead lost part 3, they would have actually instead won the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a very, very, very kind of niche scenario. I saw people bring up BB6 as an example,
Mm-hmm.
where like that wins, cuts Janelle, and then loses to Maggie, whereas she would have presumably, from the understanding after the season, beat Janelle 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
Another example I thought of was BB Can 3, where Godfrey won the final HOH, cut Ashley, and took Sarah, and then lost to Sarah. Whereas if Ashley had won final HOH, she would have taken Godfrey and then probably lost to Godfrey.
Mm-hmm.
So, very, very rare circumstance here where it was an incorrect move for Monty to win this final. Well, I mean, obviously, like Monty should have just taken Turner, but it was an interesting scenario where Monty sucking at that comp would have won him the game.
Yeah. Very weird. Taylor's thrilled. That's how it
Mm-hmm.
went. Her and her bank account right now are absolutely thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Monty just got it in his head that Turner had a lot of credit and clout from the Michael move, and potentially from helping form the leftovers with his HOH. And in his mind, he was like, okay, I need to take Turner out because I'll inherit his moves and his resume. But nope, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I think the primary issue here is you look at the jury and you have Indy, you have Jasmine, you have Terrence, you have Alyssa. Like those 4 votes alone, are they really going to be, running the numbers and calculating who played the most strategically viable game or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think so.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
it was ultimately a surprise to me that Terrence voted for Taylor to win. But regardless with that, like I don't think any of them were making like a decision of like, oh, Monty had like, these decisions and these like comp wins and these kind of like social strategic moves, and Turner
Mm-hmm.
had these things. It really was like, Alyssa was mad at Turner because he like, spent a week gaslighting her and then voted her out when he was supposed to be the only friend that she had after Kyle in the house. And then you have like, Indy and Jasmine who have to pretend like they were supporting Taylor for the entire season. And
Right.
don't and Jasmine obviously has a big beef with Turner. Where like from Turner, it kind of was played off as a joke on the show in a lot of ways, but like Turner like legitimately despised Jasmine, and I think that was like somewhat reciprocated.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think Monty extremely overestimated the pull that Turner would have with Jerry.
No, totally agree. So yeah, huge mistake by Monty here.
Mm.
Uh, I I get it. I get what he was thinking. He just wasn't. He underestimated Taylor as well.
Mm-hmm.
Overestimated Turner. Underestimated Taylor. Underestimated how much I feel Joseph and Michael probably like campaigned for Taylor while on the jury. So Taylor was set up well with how the jury was constructed, and not like Joseph getting out with nothing to do with Taylor at all. That's amazing, perfect, like great spot for her. Michael getting out. I mean, she voted him out, but like at that point, like what was she gonna do? Like Michael
Mm-hmm.
didn't seem to hold it against her in any way. So really, like sometimes it's not about making the move. Sometimes it's just like the right people need to get out, and then you got to still be like good with them.
Yeah, I think that's like basically the game. I think we talked because we kind of previewed what Monty and Taylor would each look like as a winner of the season
Mm-hmm.
coming in last week, because it was at that point at the final 4 there's only 2 people who could really win.
Mm-hmm.
And at least I compared Monty's game a lot to Xavier's in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like they're both kind of like I said boring at the time, and I corrected myself because I didn't really want to call Monty boring. But
Right.
then the
Yeah.
jury in this finale called Monty boring, so I felt a little bit less bad about it. Um, but yeah, like Xavier is able to win in that end game because the people you're comparing him to are Big D and Azza. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you could play a kind of just like straightforward, boring game, and like yeah, you're gonna beat Big D and Azza, right?
Right.
Like it's like a very fucking low bar,
Mm-hmm.
but like you can't play that game and be like, this is enough for me to beat somebody who has probably the best story in the history of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
No,
that's kind
agreed.
of
And I don't think he necessarily pitched his case that effectively. Like
yeah. Oh yeah.
I,
Well, we can get there now. Yeah, I know
yeah.
his final like I hate how Big Brother does the final questioning these days, where it's like they don't even give all of the jurors an opportunity to ask their own question. They're like, collectively come up with a couple of questions and ask the same couple of boring questions that they're going to answer really boringly, and then none of it really matters because most of you already made up your mind anyways. And it's really bad TV. But even with that, Monty got like super softball questions, and he botched like all of them. Like it was awful. It was very bad.
And then on top of that, Taylor had one of the better final. Like, I mean, I've made no bones about it. I think it's so shitty to give them like 1 minute to like sum up their entire game, but she nailed it. Hey, it's pageant, stuff, right? Like, encapsulate everything in a quick, like, good soundbite, and she really did a great job.
Well, I think that like there was like kind of pageanty vibes to some of her answers to the questions, but I think the important thing was in that final speech. Like it was obviously rehearsed. She rehearsed on the feeds for like most of the week.
Yeah.
But like it like came off as very authentic, and like she was speaking from her heart, and like even though the words, it was like a rehearsed written speech, like the things that she was saying were very personal, and like she was like laying her story out on the table, whereas Monty was just like, these are the game moves I did, vote for me if you're impressed, and it's like, okay, I mean, like, they're kind of impressive, I guess, but it's not really, you're not really selling a story. Whereas like Taylor sold her story, and I think you kind of see similar things with like these very bombacious speeches. These happen a lot in the Big Brother Canada. You look at Kevin Martin's speech in BB Can 5, Paris Toshnik's speech in BB Can 6, and then like Kevin Jacobs' speech in BB Can 10. Like all of these like, people telling their story from their heart and just like really like not really going through the moves, but like saying like, this is like why the season should be about me and why I should represent it. And I think that's like for a lot of juries who are kind of like not sold that there is a mastermind player, that's like the thing that they're looking for.
Yeah, it was great, and I mean, she totally deserved to get that W. I mean, I was very impressed, and obviously the jury was very impressed. She won 8-1. The one being Turner, who honestly, like, tough spot to walk right out of the house and cast a vote. Like,
I think that from what I've heard from his exit interviews, Turner has said that if he knew that it was going to be 8-1, he would have just voted for Taylor and made it 9-0. But he thought the jury was voting for Monty, so he wanted to go with the house, one last time.
Yeah, that's great. That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I feel like, come on. If there's one vote that you don't have to go with the house on, just vote for who you want. It's the final vote, right?
Well, it's funny because I think both, like all three North American Big Brother seasons that have happened this year, BB24, BB Can 10, and Celebrity Big Brother season 3, all of them have been X-1 votes, where the one vote was the final juror in the third place slot, and all of them had said subsequently, like within 24 hours, that they were like, oh yeah, if I could go back, I would change my vote.
It's hard. It's a hard spot to be in.
Yeah.
Like, your dream in your game's over, and then you have to hear people usually just kind of ramble about why they think you should win. You hear like 3 terrible questions, and then you get to ask a question, and that's it.
Yeah, and then terrible. Like again, like Brittany kind of had very little information other than what she could have gathered during the roundtable, but Turner comes out of the house with 0 information. He doesn't know what Monty and Taylor have done in their games in terms of like the stuff he could have gotten from the jury if he were able to talk to them. And it's like that's kind of how it goes, right? It's kind of something unique to Big Brother because the final eviction and the crowning of the winner happen so quickly in succession. Whereas in a game like Survivor, the last person eliminated still goes to Ponderosa for like a day and is able to talk to the rest of the jurors for
and then
at least 24 hours.
in the new format of Survivor, it gets a lot more hashed out
Hmm.
than, this. I mean, at least Survivor's old format, everyone got a question. But, like, this is just terrible for how Big
Yeah,
Brother works.
really not good. I know like spoilers are an issue,
Mm,
whatever. Like, but like if the issue is that it's live and they have to like make sure that they fit into a certain time slot,
mm,
I would honestly rather them do what they had previously done before BB10, or like through BB10, which is like not have a live finale, but like
yeah.
have like a full actual questioning that you can edit down. And this is something that
Mm,
BB Can does. And that's why BB Can's finales generally more exciting than BBUS's, in my opinion.
mm,
They generally have better final questioning and final speeches, which is like I just listed off like the instances I could think of where there were Taylor Hale-esque speeches, and all of
mm,
the ones I could think of were Big Brother Canada ones because they're
right.
they're given the actual opportunity to give those kind of speeches.
Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, other than that, for you, like, where do you think Taylor is? I mean, it's so fresh, but like,
Mhm.
as like the BB historian of the show, where do you
Right.
think she ranks in the North American BB seasons?
Just like as a winner, like I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard. She's very hard to rate because her like winning arc and winning season is like super unique. It doesn't really like it's not really comparable to anything
Mm,
else. Um, like she's the first U.S. Player to survive the first eviction and go on to win the season.
mm,
She was on the block technically all first 3 weeks on eviction night, even though the
mm,
first eviction was canceled, and went on to win the season. So that's like a super unique spot. Uh, it's not really like the like kind of winner that we've ever really seen before.
mm.
Uh, like obviously we have BB Can 10, which was the first North American instance of that happening. But still, it's not really like I just don't know how to like actually stack her up against other winners because it
Yeah.
doesn't really compare.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, I
yeah,
think
there wasn't really any winners that had like that level of like immediate uh, like hurdles they had to overcome. I guess I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, it's. I think she's like the epitome of a social game winner,
Hmm.
where you have like different players like Dr. Will, he's a like strategic winner, right? And then I'm trying to think of a better example. Someone who's like dominated challenges and won. Casey, maybe? She
Yeah,
like
Casey.
she got like a lot of, pivotal vetoes and really was able to control the end game with her wins. She's like maybe more of the physical person, and then like Taylor's that third aspect of like a social winner, where like her
Mhm.
social game was so good. So that's the only way I can kind of in my mind, like, it's not ranking because it kind of depends on what you value as
Mhm.
a fan and as a viewer. But she's certainly up there for a social game, and probably like you said, the greatest story in BB history,
Mhm.
from completely dead in the water week one to winning the game almost unanimously. That's insane.
Yeah. No, and like, she even kind of references it in her speech of like, hey, let's actually have a different type of Big Brother winner
Hmm.
that isn't just like the person who kind of controlled things and like, did the like, like checked the boxes basically
Hmm.
of like what is expected to like, be able to get the W at the end.
Hmm.
Uh, and I do agree with that. Like they're really because like here's the thing, like Taylor had the social game, and like there were strategic fumbles she had. Like the HOH during the wall comp was
Not a
very
great
bad.
HOH, no.
I think that she would be self-admitting that that was bad,
Hmm.
and that she made strategic fumbles during that week. And the issue or the thing is though, like never really mattered You know what I mean? Like, it never really mattered that she like made a deal with India and Alyssa and then, you know, went back on it because she was kind of able to sell it that she wasn't.
Right.
And like both India and Alyssa end up rooting for her in the jury. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of weird. Like, I think that a lot of players aren't capable of being somebody that is in the group making decisions and able to still push their will socially, but still come out without really people blaming you for making those decisions, even though you're like still a part of that decision making. And so
Right.
I think that that's kind of why I think she was able to succeed because she was like exerting her will in certain ways. Like Michael referenced it at the round table, where all of three of his HOHs, he felt like he was just making the move that was best for Taylor's game rather than his own. And like, you know, it wasn't really like Taylor pushing that and being like, "This is what's best for my game. We should do this." It
Mm-hmm.
was like her setting herself up socially to the point where people kind of just wanted to make moves
Mm-hmm.
that benefited her. Um,
Right.
because of like the way she positioned herself. It's a very interesting game. Like it's kind of hard to like really describe how we got here, honestly.
Right. Um, I guess with that, is there anything else that we didn't touch on?
Um, we can talk about the I guess we mentioned that Taylor also won the America's Favorite.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
800K, cool 800K walking out of the big
mhm.
brother house. Not too
and
bad.
and like a cruise or something. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, a cruise for two.
Is that what it
Like,
was?
hey,
And free
pretty good
COVID.
for 82 days. Yeah, right. Pretty good for 82 days of work, I'd say.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I didn't come in. I came in with like hoping Taylor would win, but expecting Monty to win because generally Big Brother disappoints,
Of course,
um,
yes.
and especially Big Brother US generally disappoints. And I I'm trying to think I'm trying to think at what point where I was like, oh my God, Taylor's gonna win this. I think it was probably during her speech, right? Like, because up until that point, like while Monty was answering the questions, I was like, man, he is like literally botching every single question, and I could see the jurors like, not like I could see them realizing how badly he was doing, and I was just like counting the votes, and I was like, I think Taylor has 5 locked at least. And then she gave the speech, and I was like, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So.
I remember I saw an edit of Survivor Nicaragua where it's like Fabio's Jerry votes and it's like one, but then when he tells the story of like his mom and like cries, it's like plus one, plus one, plus one. That's kind of the feeling you
Mhm.
got there with her speech.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like, um, I think she came in with a very clear strategy to acquire jury votes, which was going for the 4 women plus Joseph. I think that was her idea, right? Of like,
Right.
these are the 5 votes that I can get, um, and that's why she like spent a lot of her speech talking about like empowering women and like women being a big brother, for instance, and like her experience as a woman in that season, and like being degraded and called a bitch, etc., etc. So I think that was kind of the path that she put forward for herself of like, okay, this is how I win. I get Joseph and I get the 4 women, or maybe Michael as well. But I think Joseph is probably the more of the lock.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's it. Right? She had a plan. She executed it. One of the greatest stories in reality TV history. Definitely, creates a different tone for the season on a rewatch for sure.
Yeah, I would say one of the rare times BB Twitter was happy with the finale.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think people were like super hissy about last season. I think people were just kind of like, you know, knew that like knew that Xavier was gonna win.
Right.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess like they were thrilled. There were a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
very happy people on on my
no, for
timeline.
sure. As far as like, again, I think most people came in rooting for Taylor, but expecting Monty to win, just because like I do think that Monty came in with at least like close to 50% chance of winning. In hindsight, probably less than 50% now, but I think people come in as doomers, expecting the worst, and for Big Brother to disappoint them. So.
Oh man. Well, other than that, where can they find you online? What do you want to promote?
You can follow me on Twitter, which is mostly where I'll be. I don't know. Again, not really too active on Twitter recently. I don't even think I tweeted anything about the finale,
Right.
because like I liked a lot of tweets, but I don't think I actually tweeted anything. On Twitter at Ben Sharon. How about you, Brian?
I am the fake BMAR on Twitter. That's BMARR. Should I do the rigmarole of all the
You can
channels?
do that last time. Yeah.
I'm well versed because of the other channel that I do, Wicked Good Sports, where talk about sports almost every single day. Check us out there. Other than that, you can follow the channel on Twitter at WG Everything, Instagram Wicked Good Everything, Twitch at twitch.tv/Wicked Good Everything, TikTok. Search the Have Not Room, and then also search Wicked Good Everything. Again, follow us on Twitter. You can check out our other channels, the main channel, of course, and the Wicked Good Sports channel. This channel is Better Radio. And other than that, Ben, I'll talk to you in 2 days for Survivor. So
we predicted that our issues with scheduling would continue into Survivor, and they did. So we'll be back in 2 days on the Blindsiders to cover episodes 1 and 2 of Survivor 43. I'll say right off the bat, I thought episode 1 was fine. It was good.
Yeah, it was fun. It was good. It was a good episode. And we have to do it Wednesday because Thursday Night Football, my Dolphins are playing. They might break my heart after a hot start, so gotta do that and then cover them on Wicked Good Sports. But we'll see about BB Can. I do want to watch it this year, and if I watch it, then we should probably cover it. But we'll definitely be back for BB25. It doesn't seem like there'll be a winter season Celebrity Big Brother this year. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. No, we referenced a bunch of times, but the fact that we covered Celebrity Big Brother season 3 and not BB Can 10 destroyed me internally, my soul and my heart. If especially I think if BB Can 11 is All Stars, I think we'll probably cover it.
Oh, okay. If it's All Stars, 100%, we're covering it. I renewed my VPN last week in anticipation of potentially covering BB Can, so it's all setting up.
You can go back and watch all of the seasons that you haven't seen as well.
On Paramount Plus, yeah. I think I'll at least watch BB Can 5. That was the one that was like half All Stars, right? Yeah, I think I'll at least check that one out because I like the winner on Twitch. I watch him occasionally, so I may as well see what all the fuss is about.
And again, 10. One of my favorite reality TV seasons of all time. If you haven't seen BB Can 10, go watch it. Also has an extremely good arc narrative from start to finish. Just fire all the way through. So
I really like. I've watched a few times without a lot of context, just what I've read and asked you. The double eviction of that BB Can 5, wild, absolutely insane. So it'll be nice to get all the context for that.
You can, you will. Iconic talks.
Oh man. All right, Ben. This has been great. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. And until next time, later.